The dual catback that we're featuring here today will hands down be the most affordable full stainless steel dual exhaust on the site for your 14 through 18 5.3 Silverado at home, while also giving you some flexibility with how you want the system to look once installed. Now, interested buyers can look forward to that 409 grade stainless steel throughout here, including your chambered muffler, which will allow for an aggressive yet modest tone overall, all for right around 500 bucks. But as is tradition, let's just get into the sound you can expect here with the affordable dual exhaust system. And as I just described, yes, you do have some bark. Yes, it is noticeable, but at the same time, it's not ridiculous, it's not obnoxious, and that's probably one of the things I enjoy best about this particular system. Listen, if you want to be the loudest truck on the block and wake every neighbor up on your street, there will certainly be other options on the site that you might enjoy more. But if you're looking to make enough rumble without driving the wife crazy, this might just be the system for you. So, breaking out my patented wake the neighbor scale, I have the chambered system coming in at a healthy 3 out of 5 on my 1 to 5 or 1 to wake the neighbor scale. Now, inside the truck, things do remain relatively quiet. There's only a small increase in tone overall at cruising speeds, but I would definitely encourage you to check out some of the customer reviews back on the product page on this one, as there are a few there that do talk about interior noise while cruising, in addition to their experience with the system overall. But now let's shift gears and talk a little bit more about quality and construction. And as I mentioned at the start of this video, this is one of, if not the most affordable full stainless dual exhaust systems on the site for this particular Gen N engine. Now with that being said, you can still expect quality materials, including the 409 grade stainless steel throughout here. It is your mid-level material, I would say, kind of in the middle between 304 grade stainless on the higher end, and then of course you got the aluminized steel on the lower end. 409 grade, still very solid, still gonna offer excellent corrosion resistance. So if you do live in a snowy or salty area, this is something you can bolt up to your truck and not worrying about it rusting off in a year or two. But aside from the material, that 409 grade stainless, you're also gonna be looking at a combination of 3-inch and 2.5-inch mandrel bent tubing throughout, leading into and out of your chambered muffler here before exiting out the very nice 4-inch dual-walled polished tips here. These guys are actually made from 304 grade stainless. That's really nice because that is the best material when it comes to exhaust, and that's ultimately gonna be the part you see the most. And 304 grade is pretty much impervious to corrosion for the most part. But maybe my favorite part about this particular system, aside from the low price and the stainless build, is the fact that they do toss in separate pipes to allow you to run this system either as a dual side exit or a dual rear exit system. I think that's awesome. You can change up the look as you'd like, and that's something that not all exhaust companies tend to offer, especially when we're talking about something at this price point. Best part is, if you did want to change the layout, very, very easy. In fact, like one clamp you have to change for each side, switch out the pipes, and you're good to go. Now you heard me talk price here throughout the video, and for good reason. Again, at or around that $500 price point. This is gonna be one of the most affordable full stainless dual systems on the site for your 5.3 powered ride. You can find a few different options from companies like C&L that might be a little bit more affordable, but those are all primarily gonna be like a single style factory system that does not give you the flexibility in configuration like this option does. But now let's shift gears and talk about the installation. Site does state that there might be some trimming needed for this system depending on your wheelbase, basically the cab and bed length, but the instructions will lay that out pretty clearly for you. Now the site is gonna call this one a soft 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, about 2 hours to complete from start to finish, just factoring in maybe a little trimming in addition to getting the old system off and the new system on. To give you a better idea of just how this all comes together, what, if any, trimming is needed, let's throw it out to the guys now in the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, an exhaust hanger remover tool, 14mm wrench, an extension, 13mm swivel socket, and 15 and 16mm sockets.
What's up guys? Today we're installing an exhaust on our Silverado. First we're going to watch a quick uninstall video showing you how to remove your factory exhaust, and I'll meet you right back here for the install.
All right, so the first step in our install is to remove this clamp at the front of our exhaust. Make sure your truck is in the air and supported. You don't need a lift, but it does help. So go ahead and find that bolt. We're gonna remove it now. All right, grab your 13mm socket and we're gonna loosen this clamp right at the front of the exhaust. All right, now moving on to the hanger that's right behind the clamp that we took off. I'm going to remove it at the top here, just because it's a little easier to get the tool on. You can either take the top off or the bottom section. Make sure that the exhaust is supported when you're doing this, because it will start to come down as you take the hangers off. All right, moving on to the center section that sits about over the axle. We're gonna remove the hangers on both sides. Using the same process, we're using a hanger tool, makes it super easy. You can just pry these off as well. And again, make sure that the exhaust is supported, because we're removing the hangers, it will start to sag down and eventually drop. And finally, remove the hanger at the rear. This is the last thing holding your exhaust up, so be ready for it to come down. All right, so at this point we can remove our exhaust, and it is one piece, so it will take a little bit of finagling. I suggest you grab a friend for this step. What we're gonna do is go backwards, and we're gonna be twisting while we're lifting, so this front part can clear. All right, and then once it clears up front, you can go ahead and move it forward. Just have to finagle the exhaust over the axle a bit, and then you should be good to go.
So the first thing we're gonna do is install our front pipe. We're gonna be reusing our factory clamp. We're gonna raise this up into position. I've got a pole jack here to support the back of the pipe. We'll get our rod into our isolator and then tighten down our clamp. And once we have our clamp slid into place, we can take a 13mm socket to tighten it down. Now next, if you have the crew cab with the 6.5 foot bed, you're gonna be adding this extension pipe. For all other models, we're just gonna be installing our muffler next. So we'll take one of our clamps and slide it over our muffler inlet. And then slide that onto our front pipe. And then we'll get our clamp in place and take a 15mm socket to tighten that down. Next, we can get our two clamps onto our muffler outlets. And then we can install our passenger side tailpipe. Now we can take our passenger side tailpipe, put it over the axle and into our muffler outlet. We'll get our rod into our isolator. And now once we have both of our rods into our isolators, we can come back to our clamp and tighten that down with a 15mm socket. Next, we can install our driver's side tailpipe. So we'll get that up over the axle and into our muffler outlet. And then get our rod up and into our isolator. Now once we have our rod up and into our isolator, we'll come back to our clamp and take a 15mm socket to tighten it down. Now next we're gonna have to add another hanger. We have this oval hole here, kind of right behind our driver's side rear tire. So we have this plate that's gonna be going on the inside of our frame rail with a bolt. And then we'll slide our hanger on and thread on our nut. And now we can grab a 16mm socket for the bolt side and a 14mm wrench for the nut side. Straighten out our bracket and tighten it down. So now we can install our next pipe on the driver's side. We'll grab another clamp, slide it over the edge. I've got our isolator for the hanger installed. And then we'll slide that onto our pipe and raise this up into place. Now we can come back to our clamp and tighten that down with a 15mm socket. Now at this point you've got some options. We have a 90-degree bend that you can slide onto this pipe if you want your tips to come out the side. Or you have this S-pipe that you can slide on if you want your tips to come straight out the back. For our purposes, we're gonna be using the straight out the back setup, but if you would like to go out the side, you can use that 90-degree. So now we'll take our clamp and slide that onto our pipe. Slide that over top. And then we'll take a 15mm socket and tighten down our clamp. And now lastly, we can slide on our tip and take a 15mm socket to tighten down that clamp. And now you can repeat that same process for your tip and your S-pipe on the other side. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the dual exhaust system with polished tips, rear exit for your 2014 to 18 5.3 liter Silverado and Sierra 1500. Thank you for watching, and for all things Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.